Happy Monday, everyone.
Happy Monday.
Hey, everyone. Happy week before Christmas.
Yeah.
It was the week before Christmas.
It was the week
go.
before Christmas. We should have planned like a Christmas jingle for everyone.
Yes. We probably would have a lot of people tuning out
for sure.
Of my vocals. But
I love a good Christmas jingle, though.
it would be fun.
So fun. It's so fun.
Little carolers, you know.
Yep.
Man, I haven't seen carolers in years.
Yeah.
In years. They always used to come through my neighborhood.
I actually used to go caroling, so
I feel like it was like
yep.
classic youth group thing to do.
For
Yes.
sure.
Like-
Every year, our youth group would go
Apparently,
caroling.
it's really good for your mental health, though. It like brings a sense of joy for the
That's-
people that are
I can see
singing.
that. I can see that.
Maybe we should do that.
All go caroling?
Yes.
All right. Well,
All right.
Emily and Tariq, you got to join us.
Cagney's signing up too. So there we go. I'm sure we get half the chat on.
Yeah.
But yeah, awesome week. We've had, honestly, these last like 2 weeks have felt a little bit like Christmas kind of messages.
Yes.
From Pastor's message last week, Holly's this past week. Then we're heading into an incredible Christmas as well. So.
I
Yes,
know.
lots of Christmas surprises. I was out in Whitby this Sunday and I was telling everyone there's lots in store for Christmas. So everyone needs to come out, invite people. It's the best time to invite someone to church because it's not a typical Sunday.
Right.
There's lots and lots of surprises in store for Christmas this year.
What are you all most excited about for Christmas?
That's a good question.
Christmas at Elevation, of course.
Right.
What part?
Well, I can't ruin the surprises.
Okay.
Honestly, like just the overall vibe of it this year, it's gonna be very nostalgic. It's gonna be very like timeless. Like just it's gonna bring back some good Christmas memories, and so I'm excited for our Christmas programming.
Timeless Christmas. Is that
Timeless Christmas was a Christmas that
Right.
we did back in. That was actually our first one we've ever did back in 2012. So
that is crazy. 10
over
years
a decade ago. Yeah.
Wow.
So
That is wild.
it's not gonna be the timeless Christmas from 10 years ago. It's gonna be a timeless.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
was
love
fun.
that. I think I'm most excited that this year, I mean, Kristen reminded me that last year I didn't have to fly anywhere for Christmas on Christmas Day. And this year I definitely won't be flying anywhere for Christmas Day because my siblings will all be in the same city.
Look at that.
Hopefully they are talking about maybe going to Disney without me for Christmas.
Okay,
so,
wow.
You know, I
Oh,
just-
man.
I'm not so sure,
Yeah.
but I am believing and declaring that I know for sure I won't be flying anywhere on Christmas Day this year.
Well, I love Christmas, this whole Christmas season. I love the Christmas trees. I love the decorations. I love it all. I don't know what I'm most excited for. Probably just, I don't know, time at home after the fun that we get to have. And I think my parents are going to come to church out in Whippy, which will be very special.
fun.
Amazing.
Their first time out in Whippy together, and for Christmas to bring them out. I'm excited for them to experience that. Everything. There's so much anticipation in this season, and I don't know, I love it.
Don't miss it, everybody.
Don't miss it.
And I
Don't
think
miss
this
it.
message was so good for that. It was so
Yes.
good for like having the right focus on this week because it can get so busy, so crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you don't stop and pause and you don't like be kind,
Yes.
like you'll just miss the whole week.
Right.
And you'll miss
Yeah.
Christmas and you'll get to like the new year and you're like, oh, that was a whirlwind.
Right.
Yeah.
And Holly's so funny, the way that she talks about everything, the way that she sets up her messages. She did such a great job preaching, but I love her little jokes. So I have to ask all of you on here and both of you, is there a funny tradition that you do with your family? She talked about how when she was little, they would eat their dinner at the grocery store, and I was saying that I do that with Grace. I put her in the shopping cart and let her eat while we shop, and I totally related to Holly in that
There
moment.
you
But
go.
do any of you have any fun
This is not
traditions?
just Christmas related. This is anything, right?
Yes,
Yes.
everything
Anything.
related.
Yeah. I mean, mine does have to do with food as well. And I only was just thinking about it now, but when I was younger, and actually until I was a teenager, we would always go pick up pierogies or petaha, whatever you call it, at the Ukrainian church. And when we would pick them up, they would be cold, like in the packaging, but we would still eat them on the way home. And so we'd
Right.
be eating cold pierogies. And for those of you who don't know, I always say like I'm Dominican and Finn, but my mom's also Polish and Ukrainian. So we always do that.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I have a lot of memories of long bike rides to Dairy Queen.
Ooh.
All right, long bike rides to Dairy Queen in
That's so
Brampton.
fun.
So that's
Did Wayne
kinda-
Finch get on the bike too?
That was it. Yeah,
Okay.
it was my dad. It was me, my brother, my mom would sometimes tag along. It was a long ride. So it was a good
Yeah.
like boys trip most of the time. But
That's so fun. I can envision the path from your old house to the Dairy Queen.
straight down
Right.
Queen Street the whole way, pretty much for like over the highway all the way
Yeah.
down. Yeah, it was
That's
good. It was
so
fun.
fun.
That is the best Dairy Queen too. I love that Dairy
That was
Queen.
classic. That was
Yeah,
classic.
classic Brampton Dairy Queen. So
what else
good.
we got? Meatball subs for Christmas dinner is what Tim's saying.
Interesting.
That's good.
That is fun. That's a
I've heard of
fun
like Chinese
tradition.
food for
Yes.
for
Yes.
New Year's, Christmas Eve,
Yeah,
New Year's Eve,
Yeah.
classics.
for sure.
Very
Done that as
classic.
well.
I think
Love
for me,
that.
it's me and my dad. He'd always take me to the chip truck. That was something that we always did. But around Christmas time, we'd always go in our car and we'd go and we'd look at the Christmas lights, and we'd
Yeah.
go around and we'd check them all out. It was so much fun. We should do that this year.
Wonders also samples food as
Yes.
well at the grocery store. So
Yeah.
Costco is great for that too. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's like they like encourage it. They like,
Exactly.
here is the sample, and it's not even going to affect the package that you have.
Exactly.
So that's perfect.
That's so
Right.
fun. Well, before we get into the sermon anymore, I would love for you to put your top sermon takeaways in the chat. Let us know something that God spoke directly to you through Pastor Holly yesterday. And as you do that, let's check out this clip.
Don't miss out on the nearness of Christ this Christmas. fight for it with everything you have. Let the pain and the disappointments that you face this season draw you closer to Christ. Let the hardship and the questions that you have draw you closer to Jesus, because everything flows from that close relationship with him. Before I close, I want to remind you also today that God's kindness and compassion is for you too. And maybe you should try being a little kinder to yourself this Christmas as well. Sometimes the person that you're the least kind to is yourself. You can't stop thinking about all the ways that you have messed up. And the enemy wants nothing more than to get in between you and Emmanuel.
So good. I love that clip. That
So
was
good.
just so relevant to the point that stood out to me the most through the sermon, which was just the importance of not missing God's nearness over this Christmas season. And she talks about how the enemy wants to just tear you apart at this time. He wants to tear you apart from people. And she just really encouraged me to remember to be kind. And the most important thing that you can do is really stay close to God. And something that I've always done every time it's been Christmas is I always read Christmas devotional. The Greatest Gift is the one that I'm reading, and I love it. It's only my second year reading it, I guess, but I do look at it so new. It's like I've never read it. I've never read it before, and Pastor even said that last time, right? It's like the Christmas story. It never changes, but you change and you see things so differently. So having a devotional has really anchored me through this time to make sure that I am appreciating this season and all the different things that we have, and not losing myself, right? And making sure that I am staying close to God and being able to, be kind even to myself, because I don't know if you guys are like this. I can put so much pressure on myself. I want to be the perfect daughter to my parents. I want to be the perfect sister. I want to make sure I'm making everybody happy. I want to make sure I have the best gifts. I want to make sure everyone has a Christmas card. That's a lot of pressure to put on yourself. So making sure that that's not my main focus, making sure that God is still remaining the center of everything that I'm doing, even though all these other things have to get done, not being so hard on yourself.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. And even what she was saying at the end is just love yourself, be kind to yourself. So often we can think of in this season, think of ourselves as I'm just the sacrificial lamb. I'm just going to sacrifice myself to pour out for all these other people, buy the gifts, spend all my money, put on, so many of us are putting on Christmas dinners or putting on hosting people over, or trying to travel to get to someone who is hosting the dinner. And so there's so much that we're trying to give in this season, that that the point isn't to drain yourself, but it's you're doing all this so that you can fill up others and fill yourself at the same time. And so just having that mindset of I need to take time to just be kind to myself. I need to take time to spend time with God, spend time in his presence, let him fill me up. I know there's going to be some outpouring, so how can I get God to fill me up in the meantime? And so being extra intentional, I think, in the season, even though it's busy, sometimes I find the busiest seasons when you do prioritize that time with God, whether it's first thing in the morning or at lunch or whatever in the car ride, whatever your flow is, get into it for these next week, and just say, hey, I'm even going to spend 5 minutes. Start there. God will give you that time back 100%. He always, it's God math.
Yes.
As we learned about this is part 2 of that message, I guess, Holly was saying, but he always finds a way to multiply your time when you prioritize him. And so he wants to fill you. He wants to spend time with you. So don't miss it.
Yeah. I love everything that everyone's saying in the chat too. Wonder, you had put in the chat that enough is not a feeling, but it's a place of faith, and knowing and believing that you have more than enough. Pastor Holly was saying, when you give God what you have, you will always have more than enough. And so whether it's your time, you were saying, or it's the gifts that you're giving others, just knowing that that is more than enough, because I think that we can get trapped in that cycle of I don't have enough gifts, or I don't have enough time, or I don't have enough, whatever the case may be. And God's trying to tell us, especially through Pastor Holly yesterday, if even when you're not enough, I am more than enough.
Yeah.
So believing that God is more than enough, and he covers it all.
Right.
Yeah.
And putting your focus on what you have. That's kind of what she talked about too. Like, what is right in front of you? The bread's right there in your cart. How can you focus on that? And how can that be your lens of what you look at everything, rather than through this mindset of you don't have enough or living in scarcity, but really trusting that God will provide all of your needs.
Yeah, and that's so like near and dear to us as Elevation, as part of our like culture, our code that we have, which is like just like 10 guiding principles that we use, 10 values that we kind of hold dear to us. We say we think inside the box. And it's about embracing limitations. It's about embracing like what God has has given us in our hands. It's easy to dream being like, if I had $1 million, if I had $10 million, if I had whatever. It's like, well, I don't. So what has God given you? How can I get creative with that? How can I work with that? It's thinking inside the box. Because we always like to dream outside the box, but like, what's God giving you? He's giving me some bread. What can I do with that? I can feed some people. Let's go for it.
That's so good. I love also when she was talking about just how you can sometimes have spiritual amnesia and how sometimes God can do all these great things in your life, but then you forget about them. So I don't know if you want to speak to a time that you've had like that.
Yeah, I think that was a big part of the message that hit me really hard as well, because she talked about how it was the feeding of the 5,000, and then literally 6 months later, it was like, okay, feeding of the 4,000, and everyone was like, okay, what are we gonna do, God? There's no way we could feed all these people. Blah, blah. It's like, I just did this, guys. I just did this, and I think I find that it happens to me in the big and the small things too. Like obviously in the big things in life, things where I'm believing God for, sometimes it can feel like, oh man, am I like, God, are you even out there right now? Are you hearing my prayers right now? I'm trying to move forward. I'm trying to like, do things, but like, are you working behind the scenes? Can I get a sign or a confirmation? And sometimes it is just kind of like having to say, you know what? God did come through for me last year on a big thing. And God saw me through where I didn't think there was going to be a way. So I'm going to trust him to do that again. Every time I even get sick with a cold, sometimes I'm just like, God, can you see me through? This is horrible. It's like, well, I've been through many in my lifetime. So that's obviously a small example, and in bigger ways as well. I think things like we're just coming off of a year-end offering, trusting God in big ways. It's something that we always try to like stretch our faith, where we feel a little bit uncomfortable of like writing that big check and sacrificing and just being like, God, you're going to have to show up and provide. And I think getting to that place where God has to show up, whether it's in your finances, whether it's in a decision that you make, whether